Dobrodošli u sam nastavak našeg današnjeg druženja. Nadam se da ste se lijepo izminglali, iznetworkali i što sve uz to ide i da smo spremni za posvetiti se temi upravljanja ljudskim resursima u organizacijama. Direktorica ljudskih resursa u Podravci, gospođa Moira Homan, provešće nas na putovanje u srce Oluje koja je nastala na tržištu radne snage. Uzdamo se u njenu stručnost i savjete da će nas provesti sigurno upravo kroz tu oluju i dati nam savjete kako upravljati novim generacijama zaposlenika koji često mijenjaju posao i traže dublje značenje u poslu koji obavljaju. Pa gospođo Moira, dobrodošli i izvolite. I izvolite sa malo pljeska. Evo ga, bravo, evo izvolite.
Dobar dan svima. Lijepo je biti ovdje u Sinestaru sa ove strane dvorane. Obično sam tamo i gledam nekakav science fiction, pa je to nešto manje više što ćemo i danas proći. Horore ne volim, iako dijelovi ove moje priče imaju i elemente horora, ali horor ima efekt samo kad nešto ne očekujete. Ali mislim da danas ovdje publika koja sjedi je publika koja je jako izložena svakodnevnom biznisu, very exposed to the market and competition i zapravo neke elemente horora u zadnjih par godina imali ste prilike i sami vidjeti i osjetiti. Ja ću danas zapravo pričati na engleskom iz razloga kad pričam na hrvatskom pa se ufuram u temu, onda to postane strašno smiješno jer pričam neki krinkiš. Onda je bolje da zapravo u nekom trenutku pređem na neki jezik koji je meni poslovno i intuitivan. Iz razloga što, kao što vidite s desne strane, imala sam priliku i rasti i živjeti i raditi u nekakvom foreign landscape-u. Rođena u Hrvatskoj, odrasla i formativne godine provela u toj zemlji, u našoj zemlji. Onda sam imala sreću da sam cijelu srednju školu provela u Velikoj Britaniji, koja me opet na neki svoj način formirala. Zatim sam opet došla u Hrvatsku, tu živjela, radila, imala sreću da radim u jednoj prekrasnoj industriji koja se zove turistička industrija, hospitality industry. To je bazično industrija emocija i memorija. Onda sam u Hrvatskoj počela raditi za Magentu, za T-brand u Hrvatskom Telekomu. To je pak industrija koja povezuje people based on high technologies. I sa Magentom sam proputovala Balkan, prvenstveno sam provela 4 godine u Makedoniji kao član uprave za HR i transformaciju, a iz Makedonije otišla onda u Njemačku u Deutsche Telekom headquarters gdje sam zapravo bila zadužena za 12 evropskih zemalja. Tako da sve to skupa mi na neki način internacionalno formiralo i onda sam ja isto bila onaj dio onog Great Resignationa koji se desio i kojim ću vam malo više i danas pričati. Pa sam u nekom trenutku odlučila staviti dobar posao, zvučan posao, da ne kažem i dobro plaćen posao i vratiti se u Hrvatsku jer su me ponijele neke druge emocije i želje i neki drugi životni prioriteti. I onda sam imala želju uzeti godinu dana sabatikala koji sam morala skratiti za 11 dvanaestina. Drugim riječima, umjesto godinu dana to je trajalo 1 mjesec. I onda me zapravo Podravka odlučila uzeti i ja sam se odlučila prepustiti Podravci. Basically to je industrija which takes care of you. Od momenta kad ste mala beba, od prve hrane, od prvih lijekova, pa negdje do duboke starosti, mislim da je svaki čovjek u ovoj dvorani probao masu naših brendova, čak i brendova za koje niti ne znate da su Podravkini. Uvijek pogledajte Powered by Podravka on the back. Međutim, danas vam pričam kao HR profesionalac jer sam imala priliku i veliku sreću proći različite faze biznisa. Od dvocifrenog rasta do dvocifrenog pada. Od zapošljavanja do, kako se to kaže, optimizacije, što je de facto otpuštanje. Od mergera i akvizitiona uspješnih, neuspješnih do transformacije disruptivnih tehnologija, you name it, I've been there. Tako da zapravo cijeli taj jedan portfelj iskustava s kojima se danas, imam osjećaj da je to moj personal professional toolkit, sad razumijete zašto ću ja preći na engleski uskoro, Dakle, on je moj professional toolkit i ponekad se pitam koliko mi je stvarno funkcionalan u ovo današnje vrijeme. Jer kužim da neke stvari koje znam, u kojima se osjećam kao super ekspert i čovjek sa jako puno iskustva, taj knowledge mi zapravo ne pomaže da rješavam nove probleme. Tako da danas skupa sa vama mislila sam da zapravo prođem kroz nekoliko pitanja koja će možda više otvoriti diskusiju ili dodatno vas potaknuti na razmišljanje. Odgovore na to nemam, ali puno promišljamo o tome i puno se o tome diskutira i mislim da je bitno povesti jedan diskurs, diskusije i oformiti jedan nacionalni think tank koji će moći razmišljati različite scenarije na koji način globalni fenomeni na tržištu rada utječu na tržište rada i na biznise u ovoj regiji, koji će biti people and organization trends u 22. i 23. i beyond i na koji način, koliko ja razumijem, ovdje sjede i vlasnici firme i C-1 i CEO, ima jako puno HR-ovaca. Mislim da je to na neki način najbolja moguća kombinacija koja u nekoj zajedničkoj sinergiji i partnershipu i može dati neke odgovore i na neki način usmjeravati diskusiju. Cascio je jedan pametan futurolog, u Americi živi i radi. Njegov posao je da razmišlja i to dobro radi i puno razmišlja i globalno je poznat i napravio na neki način tranziciju od VUCA svijeta prema BANI svijetu. I'll switch to English now. So it's the time of total vulnerability, and the world is changing in a totally different pace and moving more towards the chaos. The order has gone, the paradigm we lived in has been dramatically changed, and actually the new world is emerging. So from VUCA we are going to BANI world. BANI world is the abbreviation for brittle, anxious, non-linear and incomprehensible. Let me just go through these characteristics. So the brittle business and the brittle world is the world which can break at any moment. In times of fragility, what used to be a competitive advantage for the business might become a disadvantage. So you can't count on the things which made you successful, that these are exactly the things which will make you successful in the future. People and businesses need to redefine themselves all the time because the name of the game is constantly changing and everything is brittle. Anxious, when things are unpredictable and incomprehensible, which we will see at the end, people become anxious. It's just in our DNA, it's in our core. We like linear things, we like predictive things, because when things are linear, you can see what is next, and when you know what is next, you can prepare for it. You can do something about it, you can take control. When you have no idea from which side the bullet is coming, you don't know how to move. And this makes you anxious. You know the bullet is coming, you just can't do anything about it. So the result of anxiousness is actually people having lots of anxiety, very often depression. People just freeze, they don't like doing anything. And what businesses very often do, they don't make any decisions, because whatever they decide, it might be wrong. So why make decisions? Better, lay low, be below the radar. Any crisis will come and be over with at a certain point. So just freeze. When we are talking about non-linearity and being incomprehensible, this means that actually it's very difficult to see the cause and effect between the things. So one thing does not lead to another thing, which means the knowledge and experience which you have had might not be useful at all. It even might mislead you, giving you the impression that you know what you are doing in the circumstances which have dramatically changed and totally different principles apply. So new knowledge is emerging, and it is very difficult to actually validate new knowledge, because the new knowledge becomes the paradigm when it is validated frequently enough and proven right so that it can serve multiple purposes in the future. But if this knowledge does not exist, so the new knowledge comes in, but there is no validation, so how do you know this knowledge is right? So then you are in this, devil's circle, not knowing what is right, what will serve you purposefully, and how to make proper decisions. And the worst thing is, the older you are, the presumption is the more mistakes you did in the life, which is actually the definition of wisdom. So the older you are, the wiser you are, the more accumulated knowledge you have, and it no longer serves the purpose. So it's really, really scary to live in such a world. And it is so scary that actually some terrorists decided to make up the new world, and this is this VUCA world, VUCA moving to brittle. Anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensive. I don't expect you to read this or even to memorize this. I just wanted to make it complex and to see how it looks on the big screen. But the point is, actually, we have three parts of this screen. On the totally left side, you can see actually the labor market, what is happening with the labor market. In the middle side, you can see some basic parameters about the economic situation we are all in. On the far right side, you can see the happiness map of the world. So let's start from the left. So the unemployment is something that has been a really tricky phenomena in this area, because I remember when I was working, when unemployment rate was 28, 29. It never hit 30 in Croatia, but I remember in Macedonia it was crazy high. And also the grey economy was blooming. But in this area, 25 to 28 was a normal unemployment rate. I remember when you had a job opening for one vacancy, you had about 300 applicants. You can choose the top of the pops. Now the situation is completely different. Now sometimes it happens in my everyday life, you go out with a vacancy, you even animate people to be proactive and to apply for the job, and maybe 2 weeks later there is nobody, or there are just a couple of souls and maybe even they don't have the competencies. So this has dramatically changed. Lots of people from this area, from the Balkan region, have emigrated to Western Europe. When I was in Germany, then Germany actually completely, took off the visa system for the Macedonians, people from Kosovo, Albania, Serbia, basically non-European countries, because they really desperately needed the inflow of the workforce. So lots of people gone. The region here is sort of half devastated. We are growing older. The whole economy was booming for years. And, it actually spiked the unemployment historically low. Now we are at about 6%, and it is said that about 5% is considered as a zero, because these are the people voluntarily changing the job or just coming out of the education. So this has changed the landscape dramatically in the last few years. Of course, this great resignation, I was a part of it as well, but we will talk about this little bit later. The middle part is actually showing what is happening with the economic situation in the whole Europe. When I say globally, I mean Europe. So it's been just 1 or 2 years since we started the pandemic and got out of it. Now we will see the third year how it will look like. But people were actually, dealing with pay cuts, with anxiety, with isolation, with uncertainty. They had lots of stress, mental health issues, etc. And then we were hoping to go back to normal, but this never happened actually, did it? So from this point in time, actually, we went into a hyperinflation, cost of living, inflation, interest rates booming, energy prices, you know, the share of the wallet is becoming thinner and thinner. And actually the pulse of Europe workforce is very, 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 very low right now. There's been quite a lot of service done by European Commission and many agencies, and many also from the Big Fours. And they are trying to understand, you know, how the European workforce are thinking. And actually, if you think that Croatian or regional workforce thinks differently, you are wrong. There hasn't been much difference between, you know, Netherlands, Germany, even UK, Italy, Sweden, Croatia, etc. And even there is a special barometer monitoring the Balkan region. So actually, there's been like 60% of the people in Europe currently believe that their employer should help them with the increasing costs. So they expect the employer to do something. Not the government, not the state, but the employer. So the total burden of the crisis, of economic crisis, is somehow, you know, it's really hitting little people. It's hitting all of us personally, but it's hitting industries and businesses a lot. Then 70 to 80% of the people, and this has been done in May, so I think it might be, at least it's my opinion, it might be even higher, feel extremely troubled by the rising of the living costs, extremely troubled. When you're extremely troubled, this means you can't really sleep, can you? This means that you are a little bit nervous with your friends, your family, your colleagues and peers, and this is not a really good mental state to be in. And about 50% of the people, despite the great resignation, are actually worried that they might lose the job, and it is not really a good thing to be unemployed when the recession is coming. So it's better to have a low paycheck than no paycheck. An interesting phenomenon also happened that they've been doing the correlation between the genders and the age, and it has proven that women are more vulnerable, and actually they are even more worried, more anxious, more concerned than the men. And it is actually increased by 50%. So 50% compared to men, women are more worried. So they are more exposed to that. And also young population up to the age of 25 is even on the edge of depression, which is totally worrying because Generation Z is already in the workplace. I mean, we have, in my company, we have quite a lot of youngsters, and it's not really a good thing to see this coming. So we are moving then to the third part, which is showing the happiness phase of our planet, and you can see that we don't really live in the best place in the world. Luckily, we don't live in Eastern Africa, but whole our part of the world, Europe, with Russia, Ukraine, and this part has gone really, really troubled. And this has been done at the beginning of this new crisis. So now, I mean, people have a fantastic capacity to cope with different things, and what used to be really horrible now seems less horrible. But I don't think that the happiness phase of the world has changed much. And the world has been really soaring in lots of mental health issues. You can hear it, it's mainstream now. I've been in HR conference in Rovinj a couple of weeks ago, I believe many of you as well. This was really the highlight of the HR conference, taking care of ourselves, taking care of each other, taking care of well-being, prioritizing your well-being over other things. And it's not coming just out of the blue, it's coming as a response to how people feel. So we should really, as business leaders, business owners, CEOs, etc., be very much aware of that. I will not have many slides, so this slide is like major slide, and it is showing where we are right now and what are the major HR trends and global trends which are here for some time, but which seem that they will remain with us for a while. So let's start with, and actually these are four different topics. One of them is managing supply and demand, the other is how we work, the way of working, future impact, and creating and maintaining an employee experience. It's been divided into four areas, just arbitrary. It's just the portfolio of topics. Hopefully none of them, I really hope that some of you have not all of them on your radar and that you cope with them quite well, but I'm sure there will be some topics which are very painful for you, at least they are for me. I will not go through all of them, but just the major ones. So let's start with the great resignation. So it's actually a never-ending talent spike which has heavily disturbed the demand and supply harmony, and it has forced the companies to prioritize differently. And suddenly, the most pressing issues for the businesses is to acquire talent, to get talent, to retain talent, and then to engage this talent. Only in America, since the recovery of the pandemic in 2021, 4 million people have been displaced in America, actually decided to change their jobs. And it was huge, it really hit America hardly. It had a spillover effect over Europe, not that dramatic, but absolutely considerate and significant. In France, in Germany, in UK, in our region, we can see it in our region totally. And at the very beginning, I remember when I was in DT about 6-7 years ago, we really had a heavy talent agenda. We were aware that there is a scarcity of talent and that it is very difficult to find them on the market. So we really had a sort of proactive approach how to develop the marketplace and how to attract talent and how to build it from internal and external sources. But at that time, it was the scarcity of the talent which was based on IT, on ICT, on cloud, on technological, part of the world. Today, you can't find a plumber. I mean, if you find a plumber, it will probably cost you more than when you go to see a private doctor. So, I mean, I'm in a food industry. We can't find the people who just operate on the machines, or bakers, or just the normal blue-collar workforce. So it's not only about high-level people with high competencies, but it is also about very basic skills which are missing. So we were really hoping that after the pandemic, the world will go back to normal, so the labor market will stabilize. But actually, the world never got back to normal, just about when we were recovering. I mean, Corona was still around, and suddenly Ukraine happened. And then everything back to square one. So this trend of people moving from one place to another is really a paradox, isn't it? Because we said earlier that when people are anxious, they don't tend to move, they freeze. They don't make decisions, especially. It's crazy to make lifelong decisions which can really affect your core existence. But it happened. People are sometimes irrational beings. But what has fundamentally changed is the reason why they do it. So 2 years ago, we called it Great Resignation, because people just said, fuck off. I have better things to do. I'm not happy with my boss. The climate and the culture in the company is toxic. I'm not recognized. I just don't like it. I would rather prefer to take care of my own well-being, etc., etc., etc. So actually they went away because of soft reasons, of very humane reasons. And in the last 6 months, this great resignation has become a great re-evaluation. So people started to think differently, and something fundamentally changed. The motive for change has changed. So now they're not leaving because of these fluffy things, they're now leaving for the money. So the times are hard, the inflation is high, their share of wallet is lower, they can buy less things with the same amount of money, so they leave for better paychecks. And that's the bottom line. PwC has done in May this reason, so it is actually just a few months old, has done a very, very good research and actually established that in this year, 33% of the people will ask for the raise. So lots of HR people, lots of CEOs, lots of B-1 people, we need to respond to that because our businesses are under pressure to deliver EBITDA, you know, the prices, you know, the COGS is going up and, you know, the margin is getting lower and lower and, you know, people asking for 30% rise and in some industries like tech industries, it can be even up to 50. I've seen cases like this, even 100%. When the last one stays in the company, then it's 100%. You don't ask how much it costs. So it's crazy. We need to respond to that. We need to respond to that. And you can respond, you know, if you have alternative means to resolving your problems. But what if you don't? So then it has a high price tag. So the paradox is that actually people decide to change jobs and they're totally okay if they don't find anything. And companies, you know, they have vacancies, they announce the vacancies, nobody applies, and there are still people who are jobless. But actually they are not jobless. They engage somehow in gig economy. They engage in different modes of hybrid working. It's not 9 to 5 in the office building in the headquarters every day. Now they can sit anywhere they want. You know, there is nomadic talent, there is gig economy, gig talents, etc. So actually they rather prefer to be the masters of their destiny, to take care of themselves, to work when they feel like working, to take time off when they feel like resting or doing something else. So this has put HR into a different mode of, into a different mode of thinking. So they said, okay, there is no talent on the outside, so let's look at the talent on the inside. A few years ago, we would rather take somebody, or most of the companies would rather take external talent. We call it fresh blood, new ideas, fresh energy, open mindsets, because suddenly the grass is greener on the other side. But suddenly now you have to go and look back into your own yard and see, okay, now I have my own people, my own resources that are here to stay, because maybe if they wanted to leave, they would already leave, or even if they are thinking to leave, which 58% of the European workforce thinks about leaving the job in the next year. This doesn't mean they will do that, but 58%, when they are thinking, this means they are not engaged. This is the difficult thing, because it's not about the leaving, it's about the level of your engagement in the company, because when you are engaged, you give your extra, you give your passion, you give your most, and you are ready to go the extra mile. When you disengage, then you just work for the money. And you know how we say, you can't pay me so little, you know. So HR has learned different things. So we look back into our own talent and we started retraining and reskilling and tapping into uncovered potential of our internal people. And this is actually a good thing to do for several reasons. I will just name one and later we will cover the others. With the digitization and automatization and everything, you know, the paradigm is changing, and the way how we move the companies forward, we actually are even not sure in which direction we will be and where we will stand in 3 and 5 years. Long-term planning has no meaning anymore. So by training and retraining your internal staff, what you are actually doing is you are opening their minds to new things. They are able to do more, to do things differently. They learn new skills. You increase their capabilities. You actually prepare them for some new competencies which might emerge in the future, making the chances of them being redundant lower, and therefore also saving your budgets for the redundancy costs. So it has a really very good, you know, spiral effect on different things. So turn into your own people and invest in them, talk to them, develop them, hear them, you know, be there with them, go with them through this anxious path, although it's anxious for all the people. There is another HR trend which I saw more in Europe than in this region, and this is about partnering and doing marketplaces for the talent. What does it mean? So HR has a new role, and I'm sure many of you has already tapped into it, and this is actually bringing people with special capabilities and skills with the internal opportunities across your organizations. So organizations which are still very much siloed need to break these China walls between the departments and actually work cross-functionally. So cross-functional collaboration is definitely a key to success in the future. So marketplaces are actually a platform, not necessarily IT platform, but let's say a way of working where HR professional is at the center of it because they know the best what are the capacity, capabilities, skills and competencies of the people, and as HR business partners they should really well know what are the demands of the business. So they can bring these people together, make bridges, make connections, engage people on rotations, on cross-functional collaborations, on cross-functional projects, etc. The next level is to do it with your external partners, not internally. It can be with your strategic partners, your business partners. It can be with your vendors. It can even be with your competition if you have a good agreement behind that. But you can actually partner outside your organization. And there is also a new trend called, managing ecosystem, because if you're a CEO of a DAO or if you're a private little company, and this little company can be 3 people, it can be 55 people or 300 people, it doesn't matter. You can't survive if you solely depend on yourself and only think of yourself in a very egocentric way. You have to be open to collaboration, you have to be open to sharing, you have to be open to exchange ideas, people, products, prototypes, and even to share some costs. So these marketplaces between the companies have emerged into hubs where you have common interests but not the conflicts, so you can share the costs of something. It can actually evolve into sort of external academy where you actually develop people from different companies on a common grounds of the industry and then yield the results back to your basic companies. But what is most important, when you expose people to networks, and especially to the physical contact with other people, something wonderful happens, and this is called the cross-pollination of ideas. And this is what creates innovation. So innovation hardly comes when you are totally stressed and under pressure, and if you have the feeling that there is no tomorrow. So you have to find new means and different means immediately. So people work great under pressure. Of course, there is a cost and the price on your health, but you can come with fantastic solutions. And also you can come on fantastic and creative and innovative ideas on a totally different things, Renaissance, or people coming together, living in a village where everything is taken care of, somebody is paying for everything, and you have beautiful table tennis, you have beautiful common rooms, you can exchange and ideas over a perfect wine and things like that. So when you are idle, and when everything is taken care of, you can be very, very, very successful in that in this area. So there are another 2 things about the synergy between HR and business leaders, and it is about the transformation and creating multiple futures. So as we know, and we said it several times, that the world is crazy. And it doesn't seem that it will get any smarter soon. And it looks like that everybody is looking for the new economic and social paradigm. So HR is actually, in any kind of transformation of the business, and any business which wants to survive has to find different ways of operating. because clients are changing, products are changing, competition can strike you from a different recourse, or competition can come out of thin air. Maybe you even didn't see it coming. It happened to Uber, to Airbnb. It happened even to telecoms with over-the-top services, etc. So HR is usually involved in the transformation when implementation goes wrong and when people go, a little bit angry or not cooperative. Then somebody calls HR, please fix these people. There's something wrong with their mindset. So, take one brain, put another, everything will work. It doesn't work like that. I think with HR people, with developed HR team who has good business acumen and profound HR competencies, you have the partners who have a perfect toolkit, in organizational design, in development, in shaping the corporate culture, in designing different kinds of collaboration, etc. So please involve HR early, even when you are thinking about the transformation. They can bring their piece of sense into that. So don't do it yourself. Do it cross-functionally, not just HR. Bring lots of people, bring diversity in. Because if you look at the things only through your lenses and you surround yourself only with people who think similarly or same, it's actually very pleasant because there is no friction. You can, you agree on everything. So it's pleasant. People like being exposed in such things because it is on the energy side the most efficient way of working, But very energy inefficient way of working is when you bring diversity. So there is lots of friction, there is potentially conflict, there is lots of argument. You have to bring your best parts of the brains forward, but also the outputs are multifold. And actually you will need this because the future is nonlinear and incomprehensible. So actually you don't know what the future will bring. The only thing you know that it will bring something, but the problem is you don't know what it is. And another problem is what you know that you know might be totally irrelevant at the time when the problem comes. So actually it is extremely important that HR together with the business leaders find the platform in which different scenarios, future scenarios can be tested. This used to be a sort of war room platform, which was super fun to do. I've been in many war rooms, and it is sort of very artificial experience which you try to make super real with certain assumptions about the world. And then you have, 24 hours, 48 hours, or 3 hours, depending on the topic, to solve the problem and actually to build your capability to react in the real world if such a scenario happens. The only trouble is we don't have lab circumstances anymore. So the war room is happening in real life. And there is scenario, when the scenario hits you, it's real life. It's like running a marathon and you have to change your shoes by running. So you can't really sit and change your shoes and catch the breath. So you have to be capable of transforming your business while it is needed to be transformed. Because if you don't do it at that time, and don't forget, you are anxious, you don't really see things which are happening, maybe you even don't know you don't have the knowledge or the experience to deal with it. So it's really everything, all the odds are against the favors. So, but you have to act. So the only thing which needs to be, and how the organization can be prepared, is to build capabilities, is to build resilience, trust, foster open-mindedness, learn how to learn things, unlearn things, then relearn things, or create new paradigms. So your HR should know that. I'm sure they do. And play these scenarios in real life constantly, because the more the people are flexible and agile, the more skills and knowledge they already have, the greater the chances they will have maybe the secret ingredient which might be the key of resolving the challenge which you don't know what it will be. And even if they don't have it, then they have the capacity to learn it pretty much quickly, because their brains are trained, their attitudes are trained, their mindset is agile and fast and reactive or proactive. So these are actually the agendas which are at the core of the HR. And let's not forget one other thing is, and in the fact that the technology, and I mean probably in the second part of the day we will hear much more about the technology, digitization, artificial intelligence, machine learning, oh my God, it's gonna, not that it's gonna happen and stay with us, now it's gonna really raise exponentially. We are still here, you know, and it's gonna peak really, really quickly, especially with the shortages of the labor force, especially with the pressure on the top line and the bottom lines, etc. And the new paradigm is definitely fostering the synergy between the people and the technology. And the World Economic Forum has made a really, really scary assumption that by 2025, so it is 3 years from now, even less, 3 years from now, 85 million people will be jobless due to the change of technologies. I mean, I can't imagine what 85 means, 85 million people. I mean, this is super scary. This is super scary for a lot. First, it's scary for the people. I mean, you have to put the bread on the table, right? You have to feed the family. The world population is not at the point of declining. It's still rising. So, and then it's scary for the governments, because 85 million people hungry and not preoccupied some numbers of hours in the day, but, you know, wandering on the streets, it's a great chemistry for revolution. And then also it's super scary for the employers, because these people are now a workforce. So the moment they are not a workforce, multiplied 85 billion, you know, people with some kind of the price tag for redundancy, and then you will see how much it's going to cost you. The upper side of this story is that new jobs will be created. So lots of them are gone. Some of them will come not on the same volume, because some kind of the incremental will be taken over by the technology or seamless processes, but a significant number of jobs will be created. And this number of jobs need to be carefully planned, because we're not talking about 2055, so you think, okay, I will be old anyway, somebody else needs to solve this. It's actually us who need to solve this. And I remember this data is around for about 10 years. And I remember first time when I heard it, I was thinking like, you know, 2025. It's still very far in the future. And it's unbelievable how this future hits you right in the nose. And it's unbelievable even how this future looks gloomier and more challenging and more difficult than we have ever predicted. So get ready now, build your competencies, make sure that your workforce, and we are all here who are responsible for making this transition for people, make sure that there is a shift in the competencies and knowledges, and that you acknowledge the new competencies in the area of green and digital competencies, that you foster this in your everyday business. So at the end, I would just like to say is, you know, HR and business leaders should be super strategic partners right now. If they were not before, it's still not too late. There is still lots of challenges up front. Partner up and don't make this exclusive relationship. Bring other people in from other functions, from your ecosystem, from your surroundings, from your environment. bring in intentionally super different people, the people who could not be more different than you are. Bring them in. They will enhance the discussion. They will build totally new perspectives, and they will add value through diversity. So thank you very much. I really felt like a star in this movie. Happy to be on this side.
Gospođo Muira, hvala vam lijepa na ovoj proročanskoj, inspirativnoj i motivacijskoj prezentaciji, ako mogu ukratko opisati. Nadam se da neće veći dio nas nastaviti razmišljati tijekom današnjeg dana o povišici i o promjenama posla. Nije nam to bio cilj, ali definitivno ste inspirirali. Molim vas, još jednom veliki pljesak za nadasve zanimljivu, fenomenalnu, uistinu,